Okay, partner, a little bit more. Okay, partner, a little bit more.
Sadly, the black femicide rate has increased. Around every 5 hours, a black woman or black girl is killed. Typically by a black man. This is the story of Deshante Wallace. Deshante was a beautiful 26-year-old mother to a 7-year-old girl living in Detroit, Michigan. According to her family and friends, she was caring, loving, encouraging, and a great mother to her daughter. Sadly, over the past several years, she had been in a turbulent and volatile relationship. Wallace family asked her to leave her relationship. They even offered her support, but Deshante turned them down. On December 31, 2022, Wallace was found in her home barely alive. She was rushed to the hospital with visible blunt force trauma to her body. Sadly, she succumbed to her injuries.
They started the new year in mourning, having to tell this 7-year-old little girl her mom, Deshante Wallace, passed away at the hospital after being found at her home on Detroit's east side last Saturday.
I got to the hospital and I saw my daughter. My daughter's eye was sitting out here.
Deshante's mom says her daughter did not have that swollen eye or any other injuries New Year's Eve before dropping her off at her home for the last time.
When I talked to the doctor said she had bruises along the top of her torso and along her right side all the way down.
Deshante's family says the original story given to police was that she died of an overdose, but they say absolutely not. And they're pointing to a long history of domestic violence at the hands of her boyfriend of 10 years.
He split her lip and her eye. She had to have 17 stitches up, 17 stitches here. He took my child.
They say the 36-year-old's death was no accident and that they think she was murdered. Unfortunately, she was too scared to go to police before this happened, so no trail of the abuse.
Well, she was crying for help but scared to get it.
Deshante's longtime boyfriend and daughter's father was initially arrested and questioned this weekend with a female associate, but then they were released. Detroit police say they are actively investigating, and the family says it's hinging on an autopsy report not completed as of Monday afternoon. Sources tell us bleach was found on Deshante's body and near where she was found in the home.
Something was being covered up that night.
He was the oldest of all of them.
Sadness because they say they saw this coming and tried so hard to help.
She wanted to be loved by this man for some reason. She wanted things to work for her child. She wanted to give her daughter the world. And it cost her life.
Deshante family set up a GoFundMe to help with funeral arrangements and relocation assistance for her daughter. It reads, "A loving mother, a sister, a daughter was brutally taken from this earth on December 31, 2022. The last visual that I have of my sister at 36 years old is her face unrecognizable, one of her eyes bulging out of her face and the other one swollen shut with bruises all throughout her body. Cause of death is currently undetermined until the autopsy is completed. I don't have all the answers, but what I do know is this was not Deshante's first black eye, bruised body, or broken bone. This is not the first time that she was fighting for her life in her own home. The domestic violence that my sister endured was no secret to anyone. She worked plenty of days with a sore body and blackened eyes. I personally begged for her to leave and even offered her a place to stay, but like so many women she stayed in hopes that things would get better. Prayed that the abuse would stop and that one day the love would be reciprocated. She stayed for her child. She endured hell from someone who made a child with her. Someone that she loved so dearly. But despite all of the pleas and unsolicited advice, she stayed and she lost her life. We are desperately in need of funds to bury her and to relocate her child to a stable and healthy environment. So I have to ask of you today. The first one is that you share this with anyone that you know or suspect is in a domestic violence situation and pray if they needed a sign that they use this as one. My second ask is for you to please donate whatever you can, please. Please. And I have an additional ask, please invest in life insurance. During the pandemic, the domestic violence rates amongst Black women steadily increased. Despite the research, support, and advocacy, physical violence amongst the Black population has gotten worse.
That last statistic, Black women being nearly 3 times more likely to be victims of abuse than white women. Why do you think that is? Why is this happening to us?
To speculate a little bit, I believe there are certain cultural normative values that in our community has gone unchecked for a while. We do need to have dispute resolution skill sets for families. We also need to discuss any other drug abuse and addiction issues in our community that may lead to domestic violence for Black women. The percentages are it's very stark. It's 40% or more individuals that will experience domestic violence as a Black woman. So we have quite a bit to deal with in our community. Some of the music, some of the culture perpetuates a cycle of demeaning our women, which results in a bad relationship dynamic.
Perian, can you just discuss how intimate partner homicide is more common than we really realize?
Yes, it's actually very common. In my experience, I litigated cases in the Integrated Domestic Violence Court here in New York City. And while I never dealt with the death case, it was very close because the clients that I dealt with actually were hospitalized. And many times we had immigrant populations that were also being subjected to domestic violence as a means to get them to submit if they want their green cards or any other visa type. So it's a lot of manipulation, it's a lot of control, it's a lot of issues that people are facing in their home. We in the community of domestic violence awareness, we say there's fatality factors. So an individual may not start off with the aggression of maybe punching and beating. It may start off with arguing, and then it goes up the totem pole, if you will, and you'll find that people actually resort to the ultimate violence, which is death. So we often tell ladies, if you are in a relationship where it goes from the arguing, the belittling, the jealousy, to now the strangulation, it is increasing in the violence, and the fatality factor of death shall ultimately come to pass if you're not careful. So we want to give you an escape plan. So that's how we deal with it.
If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please contact the number shown. While this will not bring Deshante Wallace back, she still deserves justice. Please keep her daughter and family in your prayers. Rest in peace, Deshante Wallace.